So before we start on today's coronavirus, we're going to speak about another medical issue that a lot of us sometimes suffer with. And many of us, unfortunately, deal with some form of body pain. And for some, it's more common than others. Whether it's a dull or a sharp pain in your back or your head, dealing with pain can be extremely frustrating and sometimes even quite debilitating. So we now have Dr. Darren Green to chat about most common types of pain and how we should be treating it. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Judy. Thank you.
Lovely to have you back. So what is pain?
Pain is a noxious stimuli that tells you that the balance has been disturbed. It has a function to tell you that something is under threat and that something is going afay, basically, in the body. So you need to obviously listen to that signal, and some of us have learned incredible techniques of suppressing that pain rather than using the warning sign that something is actually wrong.
Yeah. You know what I've often thought about, actually, that fascinates me quite a bit, is how do you measure pain? Like, for example, if my pain threshold is one place and yours is in a completely different place, then how do we know what's painful and what isn't? Like, because something could be quite painful to me and not to you.
Absolutely,
so
and it differs. And how do you measure it in children, which is even more interesting. But anyway, in adults, you'll experience that the threshold or tolerance of pain and the interpretation is based on many things. It's based on past experience and a graded experience to the type of pain. And you get different types of pain stimuli, obviously, that lead to the experience at the end of the day. But we use a numeric scale, 0 to 10, but an 8 out of 10 is not the same for different people. So you need to liken it to something specific, like a pinprick, like, for example, stepping onto a sharp rock or stone. Is it that level of intensity or not? So you've got to dissect it down to that level to get a more realistic effect.
Well, can I have to tell you, I had an injection done by my doctor, and I reacted to this little needle.
Out of 10?
So he said to me, he said, "Girl, you're never having natural childbirth, put it that way." I was like,
No,
okay, I'm so sore.
Yeah.
But now let's speak about all of the most common types of body pain that people do get. What are they?
Sure. So headaches are right at the top as well. And then we have things that are related to our day-to-day activities. Things like musculoskeletal pain, your joints, your muscles. Back pain is massive, obviously. And then we also have skin that's affected. So that type of pain is very sensitive to the receptors on the skin. Heat, temperature, pressure, etc. But then you get other types of pain that affect the joints I've mentioned, and then the gut can give you pain as well. But remember that the gut also has muscle in it. So when you have colicky, cramping, muscular-like pain, it's a different character. And then neurological or nerve-like pain, the electric shock-like waves that shoot down your spine and into your arms and legs also. A very definitive type of history can be taken from the patient.
Funny that you mentioned the gut. I went to a gut specialist recently, and she had asked me if I was having any back pains. So it's so fascinating how different kinds of pains come from different kinds of things. I mean, where does pain come from, really? Like, is it because of, like, I suppose that's such a broad question, but I mean, how should we treat different things, and should we take it quite seriously when we are in pain? Or should we just say, oh, it's sore, but I'll get over it?
As I said, so where it comes from is there are highly specialized receptors for the different types of sensations, from itchiness through to burning, through to vibration sense, etc., that are positioned under the skin. And those receptors then can send a signal. So pressure, the light pressure, for example, might not be perceived as painful, but you go deeper and deeper and you can elicit pain by pressing harder and harder. That signal then is transferred to the brain for interpretation. Sometimes there are mechanisms where it can actually, your response can bypass the brain, like putting your hand on a hot plate, for example. Your reflex reaction is to pull away. Without so much of a thought, there's a reflex reaction that's developed over time to protect us, to survive longer. But when it does go to the brain then facilitates codes, what type of pain is this? And then it devises, obviously, based on memory, based on experience, based on your emotional condition at the time, based on the temperature even, and other conditions, it interprets the type of pain and then distributes, obviously, to that site, either a stimulating anti-inflammatory effect or a motor instruction to move your body position, or etc., etc.
You mentioned headaches earlier. How do you know when a headache isn't just a headache?
So one of the big differentiating features is a thunderclap headache. So when a headache comes on...
That's quite
like
graphic.
I've
just
in other words,
felt that headache.
the intensity from having a 10 out of 10 headache,
Yeah.
I'm speaking about within a minute, that's not normal. Having a headache that comes on like a typical tension type headache, etc., after a long day with tight shoulders and neck, a bit of neck spasm.
Yeah, normal.
That in the afternoons, you know, that you can feel, and the history is quite clear. But when you have a thunderclap headache, that lightning bolt, it could signify, for example, an aneurysm or a bleed in the brain. Migraines, on the other hand, are very specific. They've got, we've got over 50 types of migraines, but understanding that they also have associated symptoms like the nausea, like the prodromal aura with the visual disturbance or scintillations, and then obviously the residual features after the migraine.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming in today and
pleasure.
telling us a little bit about pain. I'm sure we'll see you soon. Now, for those of you who are experiencing these types of pain, remember to always visit your pharmacist, and in more serious cases, visit a medical professional who can assist you in how to best relieve the pain that you are suffering from.